loading snacks.
What's going on, Loading Snacks Universe? Your boy Jokes is here. I got the homie Marcus with me, and it is time for another edition of the Finisher Podcast.
Finisher.
Marcus, how are we feeling tonight, man?
I'm feeling good, man. Backlash is over with. WrestleMania's behind us. We moving on to the to SummerSlam.
I feel it like we're out of like it's almost like this it's like a new season. It's like we know there technically is no off season in the WWE, and we just keep going, but it's kind of a new reset. So some
Yep.
things lingered over, some things didn't. We started fresh, but yeah, we're in new time territory. But
Yes, indeed.
as we said before, welcome to another edition of the Finisher Podcast. Episode 19. We are making the rounds through. For you guys that are watching, for you guys that are listening, as usual, we greatly appreciate however you are consuming this content. Of course, with Loading Snacks, there's tons and tons of other things that we do as well. So make sure if you're watching, you can see that Beacons link up at the top. But for those that are listening, beacons.ai/loading snacks. It's the best way you can be able to keep track of with everything Loading Snacks has to offer, whether it be, of course, all the wrestling content, the anime content that we have, Loading Snacks Weekly, Spoiler Boys, Movie Club, whatever it may be. There's tons and tons of things that the Loading Snacks team has in store for all of you, and we greatly appreciate however you consume any of our content that we have out there for it. But I'm ready to go ahead and jump in, talk things wrestling. Marcus, you ready to talk some wrestling?
Let's talk some wrestling.
So, like Marcus said, we're out of the backlash. And boy, oh boy, there's some things happening at Backlash. And I think the one thing that we're going to talk about, because I feel like we need to do an introduction for some people that are listening. We got to see the debut of Jeff Cobb.
Yes, we
Listen,
did.
Marcus, there was no way that this was not going to be a topic. Jeff Cobb has made his appearance in WWE. We've been, for weeks now, like we've known his contract when New Japan was up, and there was that big potential that he was going to end up showing up in the E. We weren't quite sure necessarily how or where he was going to fit into the mix with everything, but it looks like my man has launched himself, and he is in the middle of Bloodline Feud 2.0, 3.0, wherever we're going with this in there right now. He pretty much is, I almost want to say, the enforcer now for Solo Sikoa. I feel like that's a safe assumption to say that where
Enforcer
he's
3.0
kind of like,
or
yeah,
maybe like 2.5
somewhere.
because I don't know at this point, but I'm just happy they didn't put him in NXT. I wouldn't be upset if they put him at NXT. Actually, that's a lie. I would be upset because like the Performance Center let him go when he first tried out for WWE, and he made a bigger name for himself in the Indies, in New Japan, in AEW, in TNA, in Ring of Honor, all these other places,
all over the place.
And if they would have put him on NXT, I feel like they would have did him a disservice. So I'm glad he's going to be in the two main shows. Not that NXT isn't its own main show, but as far as viewing purposes, we're talking strictly this specific part of the WWE universe. I'm glad he's on the two main brands.
I dig that. I'm right there along the lines with you as well too. So I mean, you've kind of talked about some of the places where he's been. I kind of want to just go through his resume a little bit, because I know there's a lot of people out there that probably aren't familiar with Jeff Cobb's work, especially if you only pay attention to WWE. If you've only paid attention to WWE, now he did have a tryout for, I'm trying to think at the time if it was NXT that he tried out for, or if it was I don't think it was Tough Enough. I do believe that he tried out for a developmental contract.
It had to be because after he did the NXT bit, he was doing stuff with Jacob.
Hmm.
in the Indies. So it had to have been like early NXT or
It
maybe
was
like
very much.
W before it was NXT transition. But
No, I think it was. I think it was NXT, but I know he tried out. But unfortunately, at the time, he didn't make the cut for it. Um, I know there was, there was good things that was said, but of course, depending on what class, like I'm very interested. That could be something that'd be worthwhile looking up. It's potentially what class he would have potentially been a part of, because depending on where he tried out at, that could have just been at the time that he just got overshadowed by a lot of amazing talent, which it's sad, but you know what? It does happen. Um, but outside of that, just like you said, I think his most noticeable time was probably going to be between New Japan, probably Pro Wrestling Gorilla. I would say now to a lot of people, you're probably not familiar with Pro Wrestling Gorilla. It's another promotion I would say it's worthwhile taking a look at. Um, he was also part of Lucha Underground, so I know a lot of people probably are familiar with that name. He was a masked luchador
September
during the time.
2014 at the
Hmm.
WWE Performance Center.
2014. Look and see who made the class of 2014 for NXT that potentially came, because depending on that list at the time, I know he was just getting into things. That could explain maybe why he didn't necessarily make the cut at that point for it. Um, but Lucha Underground, like I'm gonna kind of go a little bit through these. Um,
Okay, honorable
okay,
mentions for the class of 2014.
okay,
I see Bailey, I see Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Neville, Sasha Ben. Well, let me just put it this way:
ooh,
the four horsewomen, um, Alexa Bliss, Enzo. God damn, this is what he had: hair, Baron Corbin. Uh,
okay.
yeah, it's a pretty stacked. Yeah, it's a pretty stacked group of
At least when you think till
NXTers.
now, yeah, when you
Even
think till
Corey
now.
Graves was in that class.
Hey, listen, Corey Graves was cool when he was in the ring. Um,
Oh, and they had Braun Strowman was in that class.
oh yeah, Jesus. During that time, Jeff Cobb had a lot stacked against him. Now, obviously, these were very early days, so they were still in development. But when you look at facts now with like all those names that you rattled off and where they're at, that's a serious class that came out of NXT. So I can kind of understand why he potentially got passed over at the time. But hey, listen, sometimes some people, you had to go outside of a WWE ring an audience to develop and come back to the company. But dude did a solid. So, like we were saying, so starting Lucha, and I know Lucha Underground was one of those earlier phases for him. Um, he was built like a monster character. Like he was powerhouse. Like what as we can, I'll describe his wrestling style as we go through. But yeah, he was just built as like a powerhouse monster type of dude. Um, Pro Wrestling Gorilla, I know he held their championship title for at least a year and some change there. So anywhere you go, holding on to a championship for a year is a pretty amazing feat.
Hey, that's a big
Um,
feat.
New Japan, of course, probably his most notable tenure with the company. Obviously aligning himself with Will Ospreay, with the United Empire, which was probably his biggest breakthrough that he had. Um, the easiest way now I could kind of compare or give you like an idea of his wrestling style. He is a powerhouse, but he can move like a cruiserweight. I
He's like the
almost
Samoa Joe and the Jacob Fatu.
kind of thing. He's not a small guy. By all means, he is not a small guy, but the way he moves, it's so quick and precise. Um, it's one of those bills that's kind of like, how does this work? How can you do it? Like, and he pulls it off to a T. Um, he was in AEW for a very small brief time. Like I know he was part of like the inner
I
circle, I
mean, but
think
he
it
got
was.
injured.
He got injured. And I know he was part of the inner circle, which would I think at the time would have been a good place to be as someone coming over and getting those gears turning over there. But that was this most. Those were like the biggest areas of where he's come from through his wrestling career. I do know, if I remember, he was actually an Olympian. I believe he wrestled for Guam, if I'm not mistaken. I forget what year it was.
Yes.
Um,
2004.
2004. So, and I think he medaled, possibly. Not 100% sure. I know you got it up one there. Um, but he was an Olympian. So that's another, like, that's a resume piece in itself before. Like, and we've seen, Kurt Angles or Chad Gables that have come and have done amazing things. So dude has a resume. And I would implore you, go check out some of Jeff Cobb's G1 climax matches.
Fire.
There's a lot of good matches that you can see within that ring. But I I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. Now, I will say he's not he's not the type of person that really does a lot of mic work. And I'm not so upset with that. Especially if he's going to come in here as kind of being that next enforcer on there. I think that role would fit him pretty well. Um, but for him, if he's planning to excel within the WWE space, mic skills are definitely going to be something that's going to have to be worked on.
The
Um,
sooner they get him on the mic, the sooner he can improve.
and I mean, depending on that support, like, listen, he's going to be surrounded by a lot of good people that can get that side of development for him if needed. Now, obviously, you could have the skills and you may not necessarily use them. I highly doubt that. But when you fit a certain mold, when you fit a certain character design, you don't necessarily need to flex that muscle, which could be a thing with him. So I'm eager to see how that will work.
I mean, we'll
Now,
find out Friday.
definitely so, because right now, with the way the inner workings of Solo's bloodline, like, Jacob wasn't too thrilled with seeing Jeff Cobb show up.
Yeah, because they
So
got beef.
now, granted, he did help him. He did help him make sure that he kept that United States Championship. So I feel like there may be a little bit of a friendly exchange, but I could definitely see there being a little bit of issues, especially if Solo's bringing him in without actually talking with Jacob. Um, so definitely on SmackDown, we're gonna see how that plays out.
I mean, but that's a Solo Soko motif at this point, just bringing people in without saying anything.
Very, hey, listen, that's very, very valid. Um, so I think, as of course, another pickup for WWE that I think was an amazing pick. Now, briefly, we haven't talked about this yet, but the last past week, there were a lot of releases that did happen. Um, I'm gonna be honest, some of them I kind of like, yeah, I can understand it. I know from a money perspective, developmental perspective, some of them were just not necessarily in the right space for it. I was a little bit
I mean,
upset
with
about
bringing
hearing
over
about
all of these people, the money got to come from somewhere.
gotta come from somewhere. Like, I was a little upset to hear about, Braun Strowman. Like, I just felt like they just couldn't keep him in that right space. But he was released from his wrestling contract. But it seems like now he is going to be doing a show on USA that's definitely at least affiliated with WWE. It seems like it's almost like it seems like it's gonna be like a man versus food type thing, almost, where like he goes to different places and takes on like eating
Oh,
challenges
so
and things
then, so
like
then
that.
he's probably gonna be like, I'm pretty sure like Eddie's gonna be on there, not Eddie Guerrero or any of the other Eddies, but you
Mark
know
it.
the
If Eddie
you
Guerrero shows up on that show, we are we're gonna have some problems, sir.
Hey, just blame Barry. But I mean the power lifter Eddie, the one that's always doing like the eating, like the like the mukbangs and stuff.
I feel like I know who you're talking about. On it could be something along the line.
Yeah,
So
like I feel
I'm
like it's gonna be like them two like doing stuff probably,
mhm.
hopefully.
So I'm interested. I think excited will be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm interested to see. Because like I like Braun Strowman, and I think personality, while like seeing him on the outside, like I think he's a cool dude. So if it ends up just being, you know what, we're shifting gears and maybe the wrestling stuff for him, at least for now, is going to take a back seat, and maybe we'll see him do some of this other type of stuff. I'm interested to see where it goes. Um, but nonetheless, quick little sidebar there. Um, Having free up some of that space to maybe bring in your Jeff Cobbs and who knows what other surprises maybe we'll see over the next few weeks. Joe Hendry at this point, dude is WWE bound once that TNA contract is up, and
One
I'm,
hundred
I'm
percent.
and I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a part of me that still thinks the TNA is already under the WWE banner already,
Bro, I'm
and
telling you, Shadow Corporations, man. It's Shane, man. Shane owns TNA.
and for whatever reason, they're trying to keep it under wraps. The Triple A. Listen, however, they kept the Triple A thing under wraps for as long as they possibly could to announce that at WrestleMania. Major props, because a lot of things, those type of surprises
Kudos.
don't.
But I kind of like they kind of teed it up with sending JBL to AAA.
Hey,
Like,
listen, we talked about we talked about that because it was like
because it was like,
there's something
why
going on.
in the world is JBL doing like his farewell tour, and then all of a sudden he's going to AAA? Why are you going to Triple? Yo, this makes no sense.
Dog.
Now
He
it
showed up,
makes sense.
including TNA. It's like, okay, okay, JBL, we see you over there working
SummerSlam.
magic.
We are now proud to announce that we have a partnership with TNA.
But yeah, so I'm I'm excited to see where Jeff Cobb comes into play for it. Um, right now, if he's just a muscle, cool. Let's work with it. Let's run with it on there for it. Um, and I guess one other thing, didn't really. So I know he has ties to Hawaii. Now he's not, as far as I know. I know at least blood wise. I don't believe he's related to any of the Inoue family. I don't think he is in that bill anywhere. But I do know he lived in Hawaii for, I believe, a
Yeah,
good
Honolulu.
chunk of his life. So I'm pretty sure culture wise and all that, he's probably well integrated into it. So I'm eager to see if this is going to be like one of those things they incorporate like in the story to say that maybe, he is an outsider technically, but living the life there, they may see him as being blood. Because this would, outside of,
or or they probably have ran into each other, and so it's
mm,
similar to Peter Mavia and
mhm,
what's it, Jimmy Superfly Snooker? No, is it Jimmy or they became like blood brothers or whatever, and so
something,
that's how like he ties in. Like maybe he was just like, oh, I saw Solo getting bullied by his brothers, and he was like, you know what,
something
y'all
like
should
that.
probably chill out on that. Like they could work that into the
Oh,
story,
they
and
go,
then that will
listen.
become like real life, like something else in real life is like a parody to what they're doing.
Hmm.
But that will make the most sense.
I dig it. Like, because outside that, like, Sami Zayn's the only, like, the true outsider,
Outsider.
but they brought him in and made him an oos. So it could work some way like that, or of course, you know what? Maybe the bloodline. Maybe this is going to be that next evolution. Maybe the bloodline
But
becomes.
they need to bring in some female members, dog. Like
I'm
I
still
can't keep.
listen.
I'm gonna keep stressing this until it happens, and then I'll be quiet about it. I lied again. I'm not gonna be quiet about it, even if it does happen, because I want more female representation in the bloodline. Like this isn't a male dom, or it is a predominantly male dominated sport, but still, like give the faction female members. We can have female bloodline against like damage control when everyone comes back,
Mhm.
or make a new dominant female faction.
To do. They have options. Like, even if it ends up being, obviously the OTC. Like, I don't know if we're like, he's solo right now, and it's like I don't know if he's going to attempt to like put together another bloodline. Obviously, at this point now, he's the last piece was the wise man. and of course Paul Heyman now is with Seth Rollins, which I feel like they gotta Seth and Roman are gonna have to cross paths at least one more time. Maybe we'll lead that to somewhere at SummerSlam between him and CM Punk. One of the two of them I feel like is going to end up in a one-on-one with Seth probably by the time we get to SummerSlam. If Seth is not in the World Heavyweight Championship shot, obviously he's already technically in that zone right now. So I don't know if we're going to build to him being having that match at SummerSlam or if we're looking at something else potentially. Um, but overall, outside of that, yeah, I mean, I think Jeff Cobb is an amazing addition. So now all we're waiting
It's a
for
great
now
choice. It's a really
is
great
is
choice.
seeing how they build his story and they build around him. Um, because I would hate for like as usual another person come over and then right now I feel like he can't get lost technically in the shuffle because he's part of the main like kind of story that's going on. So I don't think we'll see that happen. But weirder things have happened. So who
I
knows
mean, I could
where
see him and Tama winning the tag team championships.
and that's and listen, I think Tonga still got maybe I think a couple months before he's medically cleared to make
Come
his
back.
return.
But the good news
And
is he's still under contract and he wasn't released. That's all I'm happy about. Give me my actual God now that the contract is over for what's his face that was doing the music. Like, give me something with gorillas in the theme, and like I am content on that aspect. Like, you've
listen,
already acknowledged New Japan. You've already acknowledged that they came from Japan. So just do it.
listen, like
Just do it.
I want to see a good God run, but they are gonna have to rebuild them in WWE because I just unfortunately they've gotten off to a kind of a shaky start. I mean, within the bloodline, like they've been you can say the lackeys for the most part and have been taking the L's and the beat downs and all that. So they are going to have to inevitably they're going to have to be separated from the bloodline to I feel like to become that dominant tag team once again for it. And just hope obviously
Hey, I
injuries and
just
things
need
like that
Tonga
don't plague.
Loa to do Tama's introduction every singles match he has. I need him to do that introduction. Who's like, this is da 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 Tama Tonga. Like, I need
We'll
it.
see. We'll see. I hope they can give him a good build, but bloodline continues. The storyline continues. We now 5 years, 6 years now. I feel like we're at year 6 at this point now. So because hey, listen, we're almost actually, you know what? Because it started during the pandemic, so it started in 2020. So it's technically 5 years getting ready to go on
No, it
6.
started like
Was it a little bit
twenty
before that?
twenty.
It would have been
So pandemic
2019.
didn't start in was it at the end of 2019 the pandemic started? No, I thought it was like
No,
21.
pandemic started 2020. So I feel like because all I know is when
Yeah, it had to be like
Foreman Center
2021.
started, that was where Roman started the first get the nudge from Paul Heyman. So at least 2020. So we're it's 5 years going on 6. We're about to go into year 6 for it. But yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now on my topic. But uh, what you got, Marcus?
I kind of wanted to jump back to like the release topic. Well, we kind of touched on it a little bit vaguely, but I feel as though there are current talent that should have been released that
Mm-hmm.
was not released, and talent that was released that shouldn't have been released. Let's take on the women's side, Gigi Dolan.
Mm-hmm.
Dalton. Dolan?
Dolan,
Dalton?
you right. You right.
Yeah,
You wrong.
Dolan. Like, she's been on a roll. She's been killing it. Why was she released? Shotzi, another person in her group. Why was she released? When they was having traction, they could have just put them on the main roster and they could have dominated. They could have actually done something with them. What
Mm-hmm.
happened?
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like this is one of those longevity type things. It's like I don't. Maybe the idea is they just couldn't see. When you plan for like 5 or 6 years down the road, that maybe fitting into the mold at that point was just not going to work. Um,
Becky
I
Lynch literally came out in a steampunk character for like 2 to 3 years
mhm.
before she just revamped herself.
Hey, listen,
Like,
and that type of stuff plays into it because you got to be able to look, 5 years down the road and say, is this a character that is going to be able to maintain, or do we know that there's going to have to be a change? Like all of those type of things go into play. Now, I can't imagine that. I know what like we talk about Braun Strowman. I know his wrestling contract problem was apparently he was making the ridiculous amount of
ridiculous.
money
Yeah.
for what it was he was doing, but necessarily they weren't getting the full investment out of him. Like I thought when what they've been doing with him, he hasn't been a part of any super mainline type stories, but I feel like everywhere that he's like been a part of, I feel like it hadn't been wasted, I think is the way to say
Yeah,
it.
because it was him and Jacob. It was also him and gosh, the dude that's not using the name the word kaiju in his name. Bronson Reed. There we go.
Hmm.
Like he was in a few with him. That's like two major, like, well, not major, but two big stories, no pun intended, within his work. Like that, like
Hmm.
those were some solid feuds that he had with those guys. So, and then I think he also had a run in with the Bloodline not too long ago.
He
I
definitely
feel
because
it.
he was going. I know Solo and Jacob he was having an issue with at one point in time, but I think when the that story shifted and they wanted to give them the more of the focus on. I'm trying to think if it was going into Mania or if it was a little bit before that. They shifted the focus on what the Bloodline was doing at that point, and I think it took him out of that story element. Like I think it's a good thing for a character like Braun Strowman that they feel as though that if a change is needed, they could take his character and put him in somewhere and it worked. So
And
I
he also had run-ins with God damn it. Uh Bo Wyatt during when they first like started doing stuff, and he's had interactions. Like you could have literally paired him like speaking with Alexa Bliss. Okay, tee that up for what we ever need to like introduce Braun Strowman and the Y6 together to take on whatever faction or whatever other problems that may come up in the future. Like these are things that will draw and put money, put seats, put people in seats and money in pockets.
and listen now and listen. I think you just said one of the biggest things is having those names that'll put names in the seats. So when you look at that list, now granted, a good chunk of the list are people that were still in NXT that were still coming up. Outside of let's take like I have a list pulled up. So like outside of like Braun Strowman, who is probably out of that whole list is the biggest name that's on that list. Um, as of right now, I don't know if any of the names that are on that list are necessarily in that place where you could see them becoming a draw. Like Dakota Kai, I thought was solid. Like I thought she had a decent
She was a
run,
solid worker. Yep.
but it just seemed like they couldn't figure out where to fit her into the bill. Now, obviously, now
Intercontinental Women's
with the
Champion.
Women's Intercontinental Championship and the United States Championship, I feel like she had a different place to be put in to play at on there for it. But of course, more than that could have played in. I don't know what type of the contract negotiation. Some people they'll go in and ask for some ridiculous amount of money that maybe they're not necessarily valued at
I
for it,
mean, the
which
Good
then
Brothers are also a solid tag team if they actually push them like the way they were told they were going to be pushed in actual real good storylines. They would do phenomenal work if like the scripting and the hindsight is there, which from what I've heard was not there.
I can understand. Like,
They
listen, me and you on the same page. I love Carl Anderson and Lou Gallows. I love them, and like I don't care what promotion they're in. Like I just like the way that their interaction, their aura. Like I know a lot of people are gonna say they don't really do anything. They just go. Hey, listen, if, from the Bullet Club days, whatever it may be, I thoroughly enjoy watching these guys, and I think it sucks that we didn't get to see a true reunion where maybe the two of them, AJ and Finn, could have obviously still
We
wouldn't have been.
literally had the Bullet Club in the palm of our hands. We had Finn, we had Gallows and Anderson, we had AJ, we have Tama, we have Tonga. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is
Listen,
like
Tama
prime
and
setup.
Tonga, I understand. Right now, in hindsight, having them a part of the bloodline, it just makes sense. It works. It needed to be what it is. So you know what? I'm not too upset that we can
Nope,
not
because
have
I
them
would
in the mix.
rather have the Bullet. I'm sorry, I would rather have a full WWE functioning Bullet Club because New Japan say, "Hey, go ahead and use the name."
Hey, listen, they could talk about it, but that's a whole nother. Hey, listen, we can talk about the New Japan thing later. I think this thing is in the works there, but I think that was. I think still
I mean,
though
that's
it
my
was.
topic. That
I feel
was
it.
just my topic about releases.
I feel
Uh,
it. I still think
Question.
it was a missed opportunity and not having at least one time to have at least the four. Like I thought with Finn going through the stuff with the Judgment Day, it'd have been a perfect time for maybe them to end up beating him down and then have Gallows and Anderson end up coming out to help him out. It could have been the perfect setup that we could have gotten. And maybe they would have done the same thing like at one point where they were back in AJ. This time they would have backed Finn. And that could have been a cool thing. And eventually maybe we would have figured out how to work AJ into the mix. And you know what? You could have let them run crazy. It could have been easy. Listen, Finn and AJ, either one of the two of them can run as world heavyweight champion. No issues on either one of those. I want to
They
see Finn.
literally could have did the same story that New Japan did, and just was like Finn going off saying, "I'm tired of not being world heavyweight champion. I'm tired of getting the short end of the stick. I'm tired of being stuck underneath this ceiling." And then, bam, actual WWE Bullet Club.
Yeah, I would like to see.
It writes itself. You won't even have to do anything because the story is already there. Because this man hasn't been a singles champion and like counting how many years.
Yeah, listen. I know Finn is enjoying but dude needs. I still think the thing that derailed him the most, outside of the injury, of course, obviously when he was Universal Champion, that match that he had with Edge, where he was the Demon and he ended up losing as the Demon. I thought that was. I still think to this day. Don't get me wrong. I love Edge. I love Adam. I still think the wrong person won that match.
I mean, I can even say during the COVID time when he brought back the demon and had the whole lights out match, and nope, Roman must continue to be champion because we got to make sure that he's the closest one to the streak.
Yeah. I still think the wrong person lost that match. And ever since then, the Judgment Day thing, it worked for a while. And clearly right now with his tensions, listen, if we're leading to right now Finn Balor versus Dom potentially for the Intercontinental Championship in some shape or form, I feel like that may be the SummerSlam play that we could be aiming at by the time of then if they remove Finn out of the Judgment Day. Obviously with Breaker, I think Breaker right now is probably the only one that I would see attempting to really truly go back for the championship once again. Obviously Penta. I listen. I ain't gonna lie. I thought Penta was actually gonna win.
That would have been insane if Penta won. Would have been insane.
I
Even
do. I
more
do.
insane is if Finn actually won that match.
Hey, listen. That at some point that it's got to give. But yeah. No. The releases happen. I'm not. I'm honestly most of the list. I'm not upset about. Like some people, it kind of seemed like they got stagnant, stale. Like what was it? Katana and Caden. Like, as much as they were a legitimate women's tag team, I,
Couldn't sell it.
they just couldn't get. I think they're. I hate to say this. I don't like doing. They're in comparison. Like, I think their height at points in time. Don't get me wrong. A lot of the women are on the shorter side. I feel like they just had that going against them. Like, don't get me wrong. Like Zelina, she's fine, but
But she can talk.
very much so, very much so. I just think they
Not
had a
only
lot.
is she good in the ring and knows more than like 5 moves, like she can actually talk.
Yeah. So that just sucks that we lost. We
Not
lost.
saying that they can't and aren't as good, but if you were to ask me when was the last match that they had, if I remember it, I would say no.
I feel you. And it's just, hey, listen, we're not gonna
I
get
mean,
too.
I remember their entrance because I griped about their entrance like all the time. No, that was Sen. He griped about the entrance all the time with the smoke guns or whatever. That made like no sense for their
Mhm.
entrance. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it just, listen. The women's tag team division, like, I hope there's gonna be, like, we said there's no a focus somehow to fit. If they don't start developing just some NXT women's tag team, more women's tag teams to be able to bring up, it's just not gonna work. And I don't know. It
I keep
sucks.
saying them belts are cursed, man.
It sucks. Maybe they just need to change the design. Maybe we change the design and that breaks the curse. I don't know. I don't know what
Them
they need to
belts are
do.
cursed.
But yeah, the releases. I think the majority of them, honestly, don't bother me at all.
Oh, we forgot about Shayna Baszler. She's up there with Braun Strowman.
You know what? I kind of did. I really did forget about Shayna being released. Like, I just feel like, one. I feel like there was a point where it seemed like she was able to be fully herself, but it's like, it's almost like she had
She
to
got
be. She had to
stuck. She
pull
got
back in
partnered with
time.
Zoe Stark to like bring her up because Zoe Stark was like when was the one of the newer people coming up from NXT last year or
Listen,
maybe the year before. Yeah, it was like one of the two, either last year or the year before. Zoe Starks got the call from NXT, literally paired her with Baszler after the Ronda Rousey fiasco
hey, listen.
and derailed everything.
Them as a tag team, I thought was fine. It could work. Like, I thought they could complement the two of each other on there. But, like, the whole, I'm not mad with the whole Pure Fusion Collective. Like, as a as a group, I liked the chemistry. I like what they were doing, but I just feel like it just didn't work itself off with the crowd and everything. Like, it sucks, but at this point I know Shane is probably going to go back to focusing on um actual mixed martial arts and, like, that type of thing. And you know what? She will probably fit that bill pretty good. And especially, listen, if she ends up getting to the point
Oh
where she can
shit.
show up in the UFC, it's still, listen. Oh, what did I miss?
Bobby gave Bobby gave a thumbs up.
Oh God, that's a whole. Listen, we ain't even going. We ain't even gonna go into that. But if Shayna ends up in the UFC and get a solid footing, it's still under the same company. I feel like, listen, I
How
feel
old
like
is Shayna
WWE.
Baszler now?
I'm not even sure.
I
Late
think she missed her window.
late 30s, maybe mid to late
Yeah,
30s.
I think she missed her window.
But I think she could have a small run. But listen, she's in UFC. It's under the same banner. Like, I feel like there's a play with some of these people in releasing from their WWE contracts to then at least,
I think
show up
she'll be
in
really good at GCW.
sh- show up at TNA like Indy Hartwell. I think she'll do an amazing job there. And then, of course, if WWE actually has TNA under the banner, she's still home. So it's like I feel like there's another play in this with certain people, but I dig it. I'm good with the releases. None of them were like super left field that like other than like Braun, um, Braun and Dakota were probably the two that probably shook the foundation the most
I mean,
of
Cora J
anything.
was also surprising, but I'm not upset.
Right, right. So this round, not ground earth shattering like some have been in the past that we've
I have to
had.
blame
So,
Charlotte.
oh god, whole nother topic, but I dig it. Um, I think that's a good. Those are good topics for the main part of the show. I think we are good to go ahead and wrap things up and do a little small chat for the Patreon members. But um, let us know what you guys think. Are you a fan of Jeff Cobb? One, have you kept up with Jeff Cobb in his career, or is this two? This is your brand new first introduction to Jeff Cobb. Let us know. That's a topic I'm interested to hear and see how you guys feel, and let us know what you think about those releases
Don't be
that happened.
shy. Make those comments. Let us
Let us know
know.
what you
We
think.
want your feedback. Give us
100%.
your feedback respectfully.
Um, I mean, if you're gonna be disrespectful, I mean, listen, I'll take comments. I mean, that feeds the algorithm. So don't be mad when we come back at you. But listen, we want to keep giving us that so we can feed the algorithm
Receipts are
for it.
real on these topics. Receipts are real.
But but yeah, Marcus, I think we're good to go on this side. We're gonna go ahead and
Indeed.
shut things down here on episode 19 of the Finisher. Um, as usual, however you're consuming our content, we greatly appreciate it. Once again, beacons.ai/loading snacks. Best way that you can keep up with all the shenanigans that we have going on. Um, the next biggest thing, by the time you guys hear this, we will be probably about a day out from LotCon that we're going to be at this weekend. And then the end of the month, we will be at Big Lit Comic Con. So we are going to be hosting a lot of the main stage panels and things that are going to be going on. So make sure if you're not familiar with Big Lit Comic Con, uh, give them a follow. They have multiple shows. We are doing the Northern Virginia one. That'll be at the Dallas Expo Center. But they also have one in Roanoke, and then they also have a new one that is in North Carolina as well too. So big things going on with Big Lit Comic Con. Check that out. Um, I think that's about it that we got going on right now. But
I
hit that
believe
link,
so.
click the link, type the link in. However, that's the easiest way to make sure you keep up with everything Loading Snacks. And of course, the Finisher is going to be coming to you bi-weekly. So Spotify, YouTube, however you're getting it, iTunes, it's Apple. Oh, I should say Apple Music or Apple Podcast now. It's hard to break a habit after all this time, but it's going to be there for you. Um, but we're good to go. For the homie Marcus, it's your boy Joe. So this has been episode 19 of the Finish Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Marcus, go ahead and let them know what they need to hear.
Just because your back is against the ropes doesn't mean you can't move forward. And with that, we're out. Toodles and lose.
Loading snacks.